Welcome to Nebraska Preps Postgame with Damon Benning and Jacob Padilla.
That is the big voice guy. Welcome you into another week of Nebraska Preps Postgame. My man Jacob Padilla. Anytime I get him, that's a good day. So I'm pretty happy about that. JP, how's it going, man? As we're kind of getting our lighting fixed, Shane's over there doing his thing. Cam is over there doing his thing. Do you feel like this is kind of a big deal?
Yeah, it's a little different here. I guess they're up in the production value a little bit here.
Well, it's all this high price talent we're acquiring, man. We got to make sure that it fits.
It's exciting.
It's very exciting. So how you been, man? You survived traveling to Des Moines with Sauter.
Yeah, it went about like you thought it would. It's some good conversation. It's a quick 2-hour drive or so not too bad.
I would agree, Damon.
Because we got Sauter in complete agreement there.
Yeah.
ETG continuing to play well as we'll talk to one of the key cogs in the organization. Mitch Runco will join us this week to talk about the 3SSB tournament, kind of the collab, all that's transpired here. In a busy spring off season, man. So we'll get all of that. But how was Des Moines?
Good. Got to see some good basketball over there, like you said. The 15s and 16s, or 16s and 17s rather, both showed out. Had a really good weekend. Got to see all 4 of those games. Beat some high level teams there, and few guys played really well. Will Cooper was lights out for the 17s both games. 9 of 13 from 3 in the 2 games against Martin Brothers and Mocan Elite. And he missed his last 3. So he was 9 of 10 at one point between the 2 games.
It's just a good fit. I mean, they made the good deep run 2 years ago. Well, they made it in consecutive years, and hopefully this will be the third. But he was a good fit for them, right? Could make corner threes, is going to get open shots. You're playing with guards that are going to get you good looks. And when they share the ball, it's a good basketball team.
And then he did a lot of little things, too, in addition to the shooting. He had a lot of deflections, steals, off contested rebounds.
Yeah.
He just played well all around.
Made a key play against Kingdom Hoops a couple of weeks ago. They were mounting a 15, 16-point comeback and, trying to make a run and got his hands on a loose ball, tipped it back out on a 50-50 ball. They in turn end up getting a 3-point play out of it. I think Caleb Benning scored, but it was all set up by Cooper's hustle and getting his hands on loose balls. And I mean, that's everything that Alvin wants, like as a coach. And that's if they play like that, and he's kind of a key catalyst in that, they got a chance to be pretty okay.
And John Bull didn't play for Mocan. Obviously, Caleb didn't play for ETG. So neither team was at full strength. And to reset the score at halftime, Mocan ended up winning the second half by 1, but OSA won the first half by 5. So ended up 64-60 was kind of the aggregate score for ETG. So that was a good win for them. And then the 16s, man, Braden Frager. Geez.
We've talked about him all year.
He dropped 30 points on 11 of 17 shooting. 9 rebounds. He had 50 points and 20 rebounds in 2 games over there in Des Moines. Man, is that kid talented.
Yeah, he's athletic. And he's kind of really starting to put it together too. So it's going to be a ton of fun. As I think we've got the legend.
He's here.
He's joining
legend.
us.
Yeah, right.
There he is as we welcome in Mitch Runco. He appears to be everybody's favorite. He could probably run for mayor. He's a little young to make the cutoff, but he's awful well liked, man. Mitch, welcome into Nebraska Preps Postgame. How are you?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me.
So
excited about this weekend, man. Very excited about this weekend.
Yeah, we'll start in baby steps. Let's back up. Right, Jacob and I, the last, I don't know, probably 3 weeks have kind of tried to describe what's going on the top circuits, the shoe circuits, what's going on with AAU basketball in Nebraska. Kind of catch us up to speed and how whirlwind it's been for you as you've tried to work from behind the scenes for the last 3 or 4 months.
Yeah. Well, the timing of these programs coming together has been it was a little bit challenging, knowing that it was right as the high school season is ending and the AAU season is beginning. So that did have its challenges, but working with the guys at Nebraska Supreme has been awesome. And now that we are working together to not only secure the best talent in Nebraska, but also offer a stage for 3 or 4 different teams. When we talk about ETG going to play on that Adidas 3 SSB, as you guys know, the Pro 16 team, which is I think we're labeling it Nebraska Supreme, will play in an invite only on that Pro 16 circuit. They'll be in St. Louis this weekend. They are loaded as well for that circuit. Coach Padilla has our 15s that are really fun to watch too. That's going to be on that 16s or on that Pro 16 circuit as well. And then after that, you break back into your OSA Crusaders teams, your Lincoln Supreme teams, who will be playing in kind of more your regional circuit. A lot of recruit looks, and Mike Enright does a great job of getting college coaches in front of those guys. So the merge it's obviously helped us at the top, but it's also helped us with a number of kids and helping them get opportunities in the spring and summer.
So this is interesting, not to steal your thunder here real quick, JP, but you're getting folks to play nicely together. And in the AAU circuit, that's kind of the running joke, is that's not what happens, right? It's I've got to get mine. There isn't a lot of collaboration. Sometimes we forget about the kids involved to get the best product possible. How have you made it happen?
Well, I mean, we've got some great coaches. Number one, I think that's why obviously the track and the circuits are a big selling point, because kids get to play against their level of competition, and at the top, we obviously get to play against the best teams and players in the country. So I mean, guys want to play against the best. They want to be challenged. They want to see what else is out there. What they want to see how their talent stacks up against the rest, and then on top of the fact that we've got great players and we've got great coaches, like you said. I mean, Alvin. He does a great job with those 17s. Man, I've been doing, even when I was doing this in Los Angeles and that, I mean, Alvin is as good as it gets. I mean, when it comes to getting his kids to compete and play hard. And so, he's been awesome. Our 16s are coached by Marty Levinson, who just took the Trinity job down in Texas, one of the top JCs. He's our head 16s coach, but he tag teams that with Ryan Reeder and Trey Tarpley. Ryan was the head coach at Waverly. And so, what I love about this group of coaches is that the egos are out the door. Everybody we come into practice, we all work together, whether we're in games or not, everybody's on each other's benches, and we are trying to create something that's bigger than basketball. We want this to be not just an AAU team. We want this to be, like we all talk about, we want to have a great culture, we want to have a great family. We really want to represent, our community the best that we can. And so those are the things that are most important. And as we get closer and we start to work better with, the Supreme guys and we get into this later in the spring and summer, we want to do a lot more than just basketball. I mean, I talked to Matt Cumro today, who runs Supreme, and things that we're talking about are community service. How can we get our boys together? How can we be out there in the community? And so this is a lot bigger than just between the lines for us.
Yeah. That being said, got about a month and under your belt and couple of weekends now. We've seen the teams play. From a basketball standpoint, what have you noticed? What has stood out about kind of those teams coming together and what you've seen from the ETG teams through 2 tournament weekends so far?
Well, the 17s, their core stuck together. We added Will Cooper, who has been, like you were saying, awesome. That play that you were talking about, Damon, in a UBT, I remember that very, very
King
well.
of Hoops, yeah.
Oh, yeah, the community when he dove on the loose ball, and then he comes out to Des Moines and just lights it up. So Will has been a rope coming down through traffic, getting a big dunk, and he's got great hands and great feet, and he's just a great person. And our guys really, I mean, that's what really separates that team, I think, from a lot of AAU teams, is they enjoy playing together. And that you don't see very often in AAU, because you're getting hits from all over the place. And, they're probably the star at their high school. So then they try to do an AAU team. So that 17s hasn't changed a whole lot. And they're very familiar with Jacob, with Will. So that was easy. The 16s is wild, because now you're basically talking about half of the ETG from last year, half of the Nebraska Supreme team. And that they've been a lot of fun to watch. I mean, that team is so talented. It's hard to talk about, where they stack up against, some of the better teams in the country, especially, when we get into the end of the summer. It's going to be great, because you're going to have in Vegas the Nike teams, the Adidas teams, the Under Armour teams, and the Pro 16 teams are all going to be in that Vegas tournament, which will kind of be a great finale at the end of the year. But yeah, that 16s team, I think, can beat anybody. I really think that they can beat anybody because they are so deep. They just wear you down because they have great size, they're physical. I mean, you got guys like Robbie Garcia, who looks like a grown man. He's 15 years old and wears a size 16. That kid is an intriguing prospect. You got Braden Frager that you guys have been talking about a lot, who has just stolen the show. And if he has a great weekend, like I expect him to, here in Iowa West, he has a chance to really take off in his recruiting. He will be one of the best athletes in that gym. And we're talking about some of the best players in the country, and then a guy who has been hurt and we haven't had him, and he had a good practice last night. He's probably about 75-80% is Derek Rollins, another 15-year-old wearing size 15s. And we add him to the team too. And I mean, that team beat a really good Mocan team that had all of their guys without Derek Rollins. Lazarick Houston, I think a guy who's a great addition to that team too.
Feisty competitor.
Yeah. And and I didn't realize how elite his defensive instincts are. The guy had 2 blocks that one, he cuffed it from behind the guy. So he's a tough shot maker too, but plays with great pace. And then you got Reese Kircher, who's just like a lightning bolt, on the court, and that's running the point for them. So you got 2 great shooters. I mean, another guy who I really enjoyed watching over the weekend, and when he gets rolling, the game's pretty much over, and that's Amir Martin out of Omaha Bryan.
100%.
And when he gets rolling, it does not touch the rim. Like it is just it's net every single time. And so
it's 25 feet and out.
Yeah, you got to go get him.
Yeah,
you got to go out and guard him.
He's off the catch and he's off the dribble. And he's just got enough stuff to him to where if you bite a little bit, he can get downhill and make a play. Now, and I actually talked to his dad last night. What's fun to watch about Amir right now is where he has grown in terms of athleticism.
Oh yeah,
he's now getting up and dunking the ball. Guy caught a lob in a scrimmage with South or Iowa Impact just to start the year. And when I saw that, I was shocked. I was floored. So now you just see the confidence. I mean, he's ripping and going, baseline and dunking. He had a tip dunk that got waved off in Des Moines. So when you see him bringing the athleticism part to the table, he becomes a really recruitable kid.
How long was this in the making where you felt like it was something you were comfortable with? Because obviously you had your head high school coaching job, and we'll get to that down the road. You've got a great standing in the community. It's not just as easy as saying, "Oh, okay, hey, listen, let's go acquire talent." Like there's a way and a protocol in which I know you like to do business and treat the kids that it has to be a thing. Otherwise, Mitch Runco isn't doing it. So, like, how did that kind of evolve for you in terms of what you wanted to see happen in the community?
Well, I mean, that's all I know is this, man. Like, I put my kids first. I want to do everything I can, especially with, coming back to Omaha. Being in LA for 8 or 10 years was awesome. I mean, the talent level there is off the charts. The relationships, I look forward to using those relationships to help our Nebraska kids. But when I first moved out there, Nebraska didn't have one shoe team. And when I talked about it with guys at Adidas and that, it was kind of like, I don't think that they can handle one. I don't know if they have enough talent. Then all of a sudden you got 2 teams, and now we have one of the best programs, I think, a team that you just don't want to see at 16s and 17s right now in the country. So, that was a fun experience. And now all I want to do is use those relationships and try to help our Omaha kids, our West Iowa kids, let people know that we have kids that can hoop. We have kids that can play, and so being around, and getting kids in the gym and training, that's kind of where, I developed my relationship. So, we have our team practices, but we open up that floor and we train guys beforehand. And I think when guys are just on the court, I think just with me, I think that they understand what I'm trying to do. And it's not win a bunch of AAU games. It's, put these guys on the stage where they can be themselves and they can get an opportunity to play at a 4-year school. So, I don't really know the answer to that question. I just know, I just one day at a time and, put the kids first and things have worked out for me.
Mm. Let's talk about this weekend. I'm 3SSB, first live period coming to Omaha / Council Bluffs. What kind of talent can basketball fans expect to see coming through this weekend?
Well, you're going to have a couple top 5 players in the country. You got a 2025 in Koa Pete. You got a 2024 and Ian Jackson for Utah prospect. So you got a couple top 5. You got a lot of top 10 and a bunch of 5 stars. A lot of guys who are USA basketball. Travis Perry was Kentucky Gatorade Player of the Year. That Indiana elite team is
They're
for
legit.
real.
They're on our they're on our schedule. That should be a good one.
That will be a great one. So Travis Perry has an offer from Kentucky, one of the top scorers in the state's history. And then you got Flory Badinga. Badinga, I believe. Yeah. So he's outrageous. I mean, he's a 6'10" big. He's top 5 in the country. Gatorade Player of the Year in Indiana. Compton Magic also, their 16s are going to come with Agent Zero son. So Elijah Arenas, he just picked up an offer from Nebraska a couple days ago at 6'6", a Valley kid. So just attended USA basketball. And it's funny when Adidas sends me all these things. It's like how many followers he has on Instagram. It kind of cracks me up a little bit. But guy has like 23,000 followers, and I guess that means something these days. So, but he's going to be a fun kid to watch on the 16U. Atlanta Celtics, they got a kid named Jaden Williams. He's a 6'9" big. He signed with that Overtime Elite last year. Southeast Elite has 2 big-time players. And Mikal Brown, a 6'2" guard. He's a 5-star kid. And then they got 6'5" wing out there. I don't want to butcher his name, but it's like VJ Edgecombe, and they say he's real deal too. Nebraska or a New York Gatorade Player of the Year. So there's going to be, I'm just looking at this. It's like 5-star. I mean, they've got about 10 5-stars that you're going to see on the floor. So there's the other kid that I really like is a kid out of New York. There's a team called New York Whiz Kids. Ian Jackson, 6'6" guard. He was a gold medalist with USA basketball, and he's a consensus top 5 recruit in the 24 class. So I think last time that we hosted this, it was the summer.
Yeah.
So it was that I think that's the time that you want to have it, because what I'm not so worried about, because there's just so much talent. Coaches are going to be there, but as you talk to more and more coaches, they're hosting a lot of visits, and so that's the one thing about having it in the spring that I'm kind of anxious to see is just with all of the transfer portal stuff going on, how many college coaches are gonna be in attendance. But I imagine with the list, this roster across the board, I imagine it's gonna be a pretty packed gym.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because having was fortunate enough to work for you guys last year as an ambassador for the event, I felt like that was and having traveled around the country, I thought Omaha did it as well as anybody around the country. The field house, that they did a good job transformation in the gyms, the officiating, like the environment, I felt like was fantastic. When do you think Nebraska or in Omaha, maybe not in particular, started to turn the corner in terms of being a destination place to hold events like this? Because that's part of it. Like, you have to be capable of pulling it off. And your folks they're fantastic.
And they obviously, so when at that time I was still with Compton Magic. So I wasn't, involved with the ins and outs of how that tournament was ran and all
he
that.
Just casually drops Compton Magic, right?
I was going to touch on that.
Just casually drop.
Well, shoot, I mean that's another reason why I think kids kind of want to play for us. So because I was fortunate enough to be with that program and see how Tope is the one who runs that deal, and he's as good as it gets. I mean, he has the most marketable AAU program in the country. And so we had, multiple NBA draft picks. I don't think we came with an NBA guy in that particular tournament that year. I think we were a little down. But going back to that, Omaha obviously did a fantastic job because they're back. And so what's great about Omaha is, again, going back to Compton Magic, when we had to go to Atlanta and we had to go to some of these and we have a 10 a.m. game, those are LA kids. That's not 10 a.m. for them. They're still on West Coast time. So the idea of having, a central location, I think is helpful in terms of the time. The airport it can be a little bit tough to get into, but outside of that, the gym's right down the street. You've got downtown Omaha that has a lot of different restaurants. And coaches like to be around the casinos too. So it just kind of has everything I think that Adidas is looking for. Again, the one thing is just, I think it's a little bit expensive getting into the airport, but other than that, Omaha has done a phenomenal job of putting the show on.
Yeah, and you mentioned Compton Magic. We got the Runco Bowl on Saturday, ETG 16U against Compton Magic. How's it feel for you over there on the sideline watching that one?
It's going to be tough. I mean, those are some of my closest friends. I mean, so Justin Williams, me and him, we were road dogs for 8 years, and he's the head coach of 17U. And he just asked me yesterday if I can find him a gym, and I told him I can't for the 16s, but I might for the 17s. So no, they yeah, no, I'm really excited to see those guys. You talk about the bigger picture here is it's all about those relationships, and you know, being able to work with talent was awesome. I mean, Evan Mobley, I got to coach him when he was like 7th, 8th grade. Onyeka Okongwu, who's at the Hawks, Johnny Juzang and Dalen Terry, who nobody wanted to offer early. Dalen Terry, now he's a lottery pick. Oh, he's 6'7", but I don't know what position he is. Well, he's really any position, that you want him to be. So, that was a lot of fun. But again, it's the relationships. Those are good people. They're really good people, and they want what's best for their kids, and they're going to fight for them. And so the things that I learned from them, I'm excited to do the same for our kids here in Nebraska.
Talking with Mitch Runco here on Nebraska Preps Postgame. Mitch, let me ask you something, because it's kind of been a slow evolution. We've seen some other people around the country kind of beat Nebraska to the punch, but I love the integration, and you're a testament to it. A quote-unquote AAU guy coaching high school basketball. We've seen the Doug Woodards, the Jim Simons, the Andy Kings, these coaches that are now kind of have delve in both worlds. When did high school and AAU basketball start to understand there's some commonality in playing nice together?
Yeah, well, Doug Woodard, he kind of started this whole thing. He was kind of like the pioneer of all of this. And I know the way it started. It's the same way it started with Atopic Compton Magic. He started it with Rod Palmer, who's now the assistant at UCLA. And the reason that they did it was because what else were we going to do in the spring and summer? My kids are doing nothing. Let's jump in some tournaments. Now all of a sudden it gets a little bit bigger. Now you can kind of help kids get recruited in the spring and the summer. So I think it all began with, just coaches loving basketball, wanting their kids to get better. And you just jump in some tournaments, and it just kind of turned into what it is today. But I mean, Doug Woodard and Jim Simons, they are guys that I talk to all the time. I talked to both of them before I came back here about what Nebraska looks like, and so they've been big time advocates for both high school and AAU. I know a lot of people will say AAU it gets a certain type of reputation, but I can tell that's bad coaches, it's bad basketball. Well, it has phenomenal coaches and it has really bad coaches, just like high school. And so it's the same thing, man. It's the same thing. So the only difference is AAU, you don't get to work with your kids as much, So yeah, there is some tough things with chemistry. That's why our 17U is so good, because they do play the right way and they love playing together. So it's when you find a group of guys like that, you can do some special things in AAU. And if you start to win a couple games, and everybody eats, And
that's one of my, I've coached at OSA. This is my 9th year kind of in the program, and just the weekends bouncing around bench to bench, learning from all these other coaches. You've got the high school coaches, you've got year round OSA coaches. You've got people like me that just coach during the spring and summer. It's just kind of cool seeing just all the various perspectives and different kinds of coaches, and just kind of learning from all the different people and styles that are within the program.
Yeah, I love it. Like I said, I've learned a lot from Alvin, Marty Levinson, good friend. It's my first time actually being on a summer circuit. He was a JC coach, so we helped each other out with some players and things like that. But I could not agree more. I mean, when you're into this coaching thing, you're either growing or you're dying. So to put ourselves around some really great minds and guys who think alike and understand what we're really trying to accomplish, and you put us all on the floor together. I mean, it is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and like I said, I've learned a ton.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen Marty coach in person, he's a show unto himself. You will not find a more animated, into it coach.
He's drawing a play up. Okay, we're in the Mocan game or the Howard Pulley game. I can't remember. He's drawing a play. He can't draw the play up because the sweat is dripping off of his forehead and onto the board, and he can't get it through. So yeah, Marty's entertaining, but he puts his heart and soul into it. He doesn't know how to coach any other way.
So let's zero on in this weekend for everybody that's listening, and we'll redrop the pod later on for information. I mean, I'm happy. We ETG 17s have a 12 p.m. tip, right? You guys will get started in the 10 o'clock hour, but it's on a Friday. I mean, I think that's pretty cool. That is a big time event. How'd you like the schedule, and what can folks that want to stop on out? What are they looking forward to in terms of times?
Well, I'm happy to hear you say that, because the way that the rules have been in the past until this tournament, where on Fridays, I don't think we could start until 5 p.m. Jacob,
That's
you
why I
know,
was
is that what it was?
confused. Yeah, when I saw the
Yeah.
schedule, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Sunday, and then every night, you can't tip 9:59's last time. Once it hits 10, you can't throw the ball in the air. And then Sunday, I think you had to be done by 3 or 5 or something like that. Well, what was happening was they were trying to give the athletes time to rest. And so this is something that I know Jay Wright at Villanova, who's on the board that kind of helps NABC and the NCAA and help with AAU. It was great to have them at our directors meeting in Houston a couple months ago to just kind of air out a couple of these things, because they do it on the girls' side. So the reason that now we're able to play these games earlier is to help the athletes recover, so we're not jamming in so many games at once. And so, yeah, for the first year, I think the first tip is 10:50 a.m. We've got a great schedule. Our 16s play Friday or 17s. Is that right? Yeah, 17s are noon on Friday against Team Phenom. Yep. So, yeah, that was kind of the reasoning for all of that.
So they got Quest and Elite, the 17s, on Saturday. How's that for a schedule?
No, they've got a tough one, because and it's Mass Rivals too. I mean, Mass Rivals has Kurt Hang. He's a 6'4" guard who's committed to Michigan State. And it's just like, oh, we're all talking about Indiana Elite and Dream Vision and Phenom. I'm sure they've got some guys too. They got a really good 16 kid. But yeah, then they're gonna finish up with a kid from Michigan State, so I'm sure he won't be tough at all. So, but yeah, Indiana Elite, we've already talked about them. And then last year we went out to Magic Memorial and had a great showing at 16s, won the whole thing. Well, the first team we played was Dream Vision, who will play Saturday afternoon, and they did not forget about that. And so we're not creeping up on anybody like we did last year. They know exactly who we are and what we're capable of. So it is a treacherous schedule for our 17s. But what I love about this team is they wouldn't want it any other way. That's who they want to play.
Yeah, no question
and
about
I'll make
that.
sure to tweet out the link to the Adidas info if people want to go find it there, if you haven't already seen it floating around. But want to kind of finish up on Westview and kind of what this has been like for you. Obviously, coming back here, you jump in with the summer stuff, and then this opportunity comes, and now you're building a program from scratch. And compared to a lot of teams building from scratch, you had a pretty solid first year. You had some things to build off of. So what was this last high school season like for you, kind of getting started at Westview?
It was a ton of fun because there's no pressure, and it's similar to the job that I took when I was in LA when I first got there. I mean, it was pretty dismantled, and we had really good young kids, and by the time it was done, we built a really good program. So it's similar. The only difference is, we at least had 1 or 2 juniors or seniors. I mean, team's best offense against us was a missed shot. Throw something up there and then bully us, get a rebound and a putback. I mean, that's what we saw over and over again. But what we did see is our kids competing nonstop, playing the right way. So, having Eric Behrens as the athletic director, I played for him. I was not planning on doing high school when I moved back here, but the idea of working with Coach Behrens, Tom Lee, who I met just before I took the job, is
you got
awesome guy.
Two of the best. And listen, I'm in the high school game. I have been since 2005. I understand how important administration is. And man, if you want your success, you want your athletics to succeed, you got 2 goodies, man. You got a guy that understands athletics and school discipline and Coach Behrens. But even further than that, a guy, how many principals have won a state championship coaching a sport when they taught, like you have in Tom Lee, who's in the community too. I mean, you that administration is pretty fantastic.
Awesome.
It's pretty fantastic.
I mean, I was kind of leaning towards it when Behrens took the job. When I met Tom Lee, he pretty much just sold me, and so
he's the real deal.
Yeah, it's a great location. So it's I'm really excited to for what the future holds for our program, and I'm excited to represent OPS. Who was a little bit down this year, obviously, but the kids are excited. It was just weird. You lose the Lincoln East and you're in a locker room where I'm used to seeing tears and people all upset, but it was kind of like, hey man, we had a good year and we're just getting started. So it was kind of a weird feeling after you lose a game that ends your season. But I've got great assistant coaches who have been working with the guys as they take a ton off of my plate because I really am locked in on AAU at this time. And the other thing that's kind of cool about taking that job is the relationships I get to build with the high school coaches. So it's at Westview's. I'm excited about it.
Real quick, do you like the community center aspect of the gym and kind of what happens with the setup of the high school?
Oh, the YMCA that's attached.
Yeah.
It's great. I mean, there's kids in there nonstop, and not just kids who play basketball, but I think it's great for all of our Westview kids. So YMCA it's been a great partnership. And it's a lot of kids who just kind of walk in there to go to the Y and they go, oh my gosh, this is a pretty cool high school. And then all of a sudden, come to a game and so I think it's been great for our community, and it helps tie up the Bennington area, the West Omaha area, and OPS. So it's been great.
Man, great stuff, Mitch. I appreciate your patience over the last couple weeks, and we're going to do good work for you.
Yeah, I'm excited to see you this weekend. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Join us, Mitch.
One of the good ones in the business. That is Mitch Runco, overseeing along with their director, Alvin Mitchell. They just do a really, really good job. It's going to be a huge weekend. I mean, a lot of good basketball. And I'm going to miss you because I don't have anybody to sit by and kind of bug.
That's the one bad thing about coaching. Like I missed the last one too because I was coaching my own team. So
are you excited for St. Louis? That's going to be, I think it's going to quietly be a good one.
I have no idea what to expect from this league, from the level of competition, anything. I'm going to be a little shorthanded, so that's making me a little nervous, but excited to dive in here and now get to play weekend after weekend after the 1 week on and 2 weeks off, and now we're diving full in to close out the spring.
I'll just bug Sauter, and I'll be thinking about you. Another great week in Nebraska Preps post game. That's my man Jacob Padilla. We'll be back next Wednesday. Don't you miss it.
A Hurrdat Sports Network production.